Hi everyone, my name is Ehiane, and today I'll be telling you about Morgan, the logging tool. Now you might be asking, what is Morgan? Who is Morgan? What has Morgan done? Even though Morgan does sound like a name, in this specific scenario, Morgan is a Node.js middleware for logging HTTP requests in Express applications. Simply put, if I was to dumb this down or break it down to a simple level, Morgan is like an assistant for HTTP requests. It tells you per request what has happened during that time. If I wanted to bring it to like even a simpler scenario, how I'd explain this to somebody who's non-technical is imagine I'm cooking, right? And I realize I need more salt, right? The salt is over there in the cabinets. I leave the kitchen or I leave wherever I'm at, the stove, and go grab that salt from the cabinet and come back. What Morgan does is Morgan sees my action and says, hey, Ehyane actually just left his the stove, went to the cabinet, grabbed the salt, and came back. Right? So Morgan is kind of like a snitch, if anything, but it lets you know about wow, yeah, that's I guess that's a good analogy, I guess. But yeah, that's exactly what Morgan does. I guess now at least this wouldn't leave your head. You know exactly what Morgan does. Imagine Morgan as a snitch for HTTP requests. That's what Morgan does. Okay, enough about the jokes. Let's actually get to the meat of the program, okay? So let's make a directory for this tutorial. So let's say we'll call it Morgan. We'll cd to that. And then let's create the Express basic or foundations for this. So that'll be npm init y, which is this, and now we have our package.json. Notice how it is the main is index.js, so most likely change that to app.js later on, just because I want to install Node 1 into this. But so now let's install our dependencies, right? So we'll do npm I or install depending on what you want. Let's do I. So we need node-mon, just so we don't need to be breaking our server and creating all over again. We're going to need definitely Morgan, which is the meat of this program. We're going to need Express too as well. So let's install these. Perfect. Now let's open VS Code to make sure that everything here is looking good. Okay, great. We have our node modules. That means we have some dependencies over here. I have a Morgan demo, maintenance index.js. Let's actually change this to app.js because I'm more of a with app.js. Okay, perfecto. And then we actually have to make that file. So app.js. Perfect. All right, so moving forward, let's actually make this Express situation. Perfect. Okay, so now we have something to do so that we're on this port and we're listening. And let's actually create like our default endpoints, right? So app dot and let it be a get endpoint. So this is going to be the default one, which is just show you the home page. And then we're actually going to create the function, which is going to be the request response. We need an arrow function here. And then let's dot send. This is the message that we'll be getting from the server. So we'll just say you are in the home page. Perfecto. And now let's actually add Morgan to this, right? So there's different ways you could add Morgan to this. You could add Morgan specifically to an endpoint itself, or you could just add it generically. So let's start with generic, right? So app.use Morgan, if I could spell Morgan, and notice that, okay, yeah, that was too fast. Notice that they are formats of how you could use Morgan. It's the combined, common, dev, short, and tiny. Today we're going to be using tiny, and I will give you more info on that. Actually, let me open the documentation page for this, which is this. And let's just look for the word tiny. Yeah, it's the first thing here. So this is the format of tiny. This is what the tokens actually means. And notice how they say predefined. So that means tiny and those other options that I showed you are predefined. You can also make your own custom one, which is really nice, you know. Yeah, so it'll show you the method, the URL status, the response, and the content length, which is a number, and the response time. And I'll show you all of this like literally right now. Okay, so this is what tiny should look like. How am I going to be testing my routes? Good question that you asked. I'm going to be using something called Postman. I don't know if you've heard of Postman before. If you're not, I'll link the download to this. It's great for API resources. If you want to test your routes, Postman is kind of the way to go. This is not a plug. But yeah, I'm gonna put it side by side. Also, if you want to integrate it directly to your VS Code, because I know by default it is not on here, you have to go to extensions, type in the word Postman. It'll be right here. You probably have to create an account for this for it to like configure and everything, but the instructions are very straightforward. You'll be able to get there. Again, I'll link the download to this video. So yeah, already have my route predefined here, and my response should show up here. So first of all, I need to make sure that my server is running. My server is not running. So we'll go over here and we'll do node mode. Perfect. And the reason why this is working is because in our package.json, we changed it from index.js to app.js. So it node mod knows that we're targeting app.js, right? Which is perfect. So we're over here, and notice how I saved it, recompiled again. Love that. So let's test this. Go over here, and our server returns you are on the home page. And notice we have something here, which is very similar to this, right? So we have the method, which is the HTTP request here. We have the URL. We have the status code. We have 24. 24 represents the content length. So that means if you count all these letters here, it'll return 24, including the white space, by the way. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, right? That's right here. And this tells us the time in milliseconds. Now, like I said, now Morgan is using this for every route, right? So if I created another route, let's say for about, it's also get, right? It's also get request. So we just change this. Okay, so now instead of you being in the home page, you are in the about page, right? We go over here and we change this to about. We click send. We're in the about page. And notice how we changed from just this / to now we're in the about, right? Really, really cool. Another thing I want to mention is that, I mean, okay, I haven't showed you the other ones. So this is tiny. Let's do common, right? So if we do common, this is what common's response like log looks like. If we use combine, this is what it looks like. It's quite different. It even tells you the source or the origin that you're running the request from, which is ridiculous. And then my favorite, personally, there is another one, but we'll just stop here for today so that we don't run out of time. Well, at least in this for this particular section, dev, which tells you, which adds a color, you know, to the status code. It's just really nice. It's a good touch. The only issue is that it does not let you know the content length, which is over here, you know. But let's go back to Tiny because Tiny has the bare minimum that I kind of do like. Okay, so like I said, this was running for everything, right? So if we wanted to make this run specifically for one route, right? Let's comment this out here. We'll attach this to the middleware. Remember the word that I said middleware? I just attach this to the middleware of the specific route we want. So we'll just come here. The middleware section or the argument is usually the second argument. Yeah, second argument in like the gets function header. So notice that for about, we just refreshed it, and for about, it didn't say anything. But now if I go over here and I take this out and I send another request, now for that route, it's working, right? Which is really cool. Another thing I also wanted to mention is you can make this formats, like I said, tiny is already predefined, right? You can make this format custom. So now let's go to the documentation page and copy what tiny it looks like, or what it's predefined like, what it's predefined to, right? And then let's add the dates to it. So we have this here, we copy this, we'll come over here and add dates. And then I believe for date, there's a different structure for that. So if we go over here and type in the word dates, we have different formats for the dates. We have the CLF format, ISO format, the web format. I personally like the web format because it just looks clean out of the three. So let's go with that. So go over here, type in web. And if we click send, nothing here changes. But notice down here, we do have the time in the web format. Amazing. Okay, perfect. Now, let's create our own custom token, which is like our own custom formats in general, right? If we wanted to add, like how I added dates here, we could add our own custom date, which is called a token, right? So let's do that. If we wanted to do that, so I have helper here, just so I can get it right and I don't mess up anything. Give me 1 second. Yeah, okay. So this is how we would write that for custom tokens. Custom tokens. And you can also find this on the documentation page. But I just want to explain this as I'm writing. Morgan, right? Token. And now we define it. So what are we trying to do? Let's make one for headers, like or header types. So I want to know the header type that's going. Is it an application.json or is it something else? All right. So let's do this. We're gonna call this header type, and we'll create the function to actually define what header type should return, right? So we have our request, we have our response, our function over here. We'll go to return request headers because this should have. Okay. Oh yeah, it's not an arrow function. This is just an arrow function. Okay. Headers, content type, right? Then if it does not exist, if we don't have a content type attached to this, then it should be application JSON. Right, so let's just test this out and see what we get. Thank you, Node for refreshing. And if I send this again, okay, yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't attach this to here. So if I go over here, actually, let me wrap this, go over here and add a space. And now I add the keyword or the token header type. So header type. I do this and I run this. Now we have hello world. And why is it hello world? Because actually I went over here and I made a custom content tab called hello world, right? So if I check this out, save this, and I run this again, it'll be application.json. You see the difference? Pretty cool, right? Now we have one more thing, right? And let's say now we don't want it to be, we don't want our logs to be in our console. We want it to be in a different file. How would I do that? Very simple. So we'll need two new imports actually, which are fs to help for creating the file stream, right? Fs and path to let us know where we should actually put this file. So require and perfecto. And then we come over here right before our token or after our token. I don't think it really matters. We go here and create this file stream. So file stream for the logs. And this will be const access log. You can call this whatever you want. Stream was fs dot create right stream So we have the path that we need now. Join. How do we define that path? We need the directory name, right? The join directory name and then the actual name of the file. Let's call this access.log. So access.log. Perfect. And then we need a flag. Why you might be asking why do we need a flag? Just so to let us know the mode of operation. So is it going to be appending? Is it going to be writing? And be a for appending. So in case the file does not exist, it'll create it. Okay, we're almost done. Now, if we want to hook this up to our thing, what we'll do is we had this here, right? So actually, let me not wrap this again. We had this here. Let's go back to Tiny instead of this custom one that we made with the date and header. Right? Okay, so we'll go back to Tiny, and after Tiny, we'll go here and create something called a stream, right? This is an object, this is a parameter, and then we add our access log stream. And now, specifically for this file or for this route, when we go with the regular one, right? Because we could have done this at app.use, so for everything, but let's say for this specific route, the home page, when I try to run for the home page specifically, right? Instead of it appearing on this terminal, it'll appear in a file called access.log. See, access.log even got created thanks to Node for me saving the file. So if I can run this, notice how nothing in the stream is here, but if we go to access.log, voila. And now if we do this for abouts, we do this here. We go here. Give me 1 second. Yeah. We run this for abouts. We go here. Oh, because we don't have Morgan attached to this, that's why. My bad. So if we go over here, my mouse is giving up on me. Here, we add this as the middleware here. Here. Now this will also show up on the stream. We do this, and we go to access.log. We should have the about here. And obviously, if you don't want it for one or the other, you can take out the stream parameter. Let's say for this now, we don't want it here. You take out the stream, we do this, it'll now be on the console. So I hope that this tutorial was in some way, somehow helpful to you learn more about the Morgan logging tool. I hope you use this in your Express applications. And if you do, please reach out to me, tag me if you can. Thank you for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful day.